All right, greetings from the wasteland out here in Survival Pod. This is Freedom Phil, and what's the topic? I agree with what Adam Carolla said when he talked about look at San Francisco in the 1950s and look at it now. You see a video of then and then you look at it now. Who's ran San Francisco for how many decades? And not just San Francisco, but go to any leftist city in America. I grew up in Western Washington, and I can tell you this. Seattle used to be a lot nicer. The whole Puget Sound used to be a lot nicer. It is slowly devolved. And the same thing with Portland. Portland used to be gorgeous. Now up and down all the West Coast, you see these herpes pockmarks of tents everywhere. And don't get me wrong, I get it. Some people are struggling. Some people are putting themselves in that struggle. But what party enabled this to happen? Not just enabled it, that was the architecture. What party's been running the West Coast for decades? Yeah, this is Freedom Phil. Like, subscribe. Let's get into it. And always turn up the video speed. And why do I say that? Because when I upload this, you should be watching at 1.75. Name of the channel is literally instructions. Like, subscribe. Let's get into it. And just so people know, you want to talk, you got to be a subscriber. Nothing personal, but I look at it and I think to myself, I don't want to be reading comments from people that are subscribers. This thins out the herd, makes the game better for everybody. Let's get into it. So I'm like, listen to what Carolla was saying. And by the way, I posted that short that he did on my page because I think he's spot on with that. We have a situation in this country where you have cities that have de-evolved into second to third world shitholes. It is a tale of two cities where there are those who can afford rent. Like when you're talking $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, the rent. You know, $5,000, you can go to Brady, Texas and buy a whole ass city lot. You look around at these leftist cities and what they have turned into. And who ran them? Who was driving the bus? Remember that? Remember Obama saying that? When the Republicans are like, okay, well, he won. He's our president. We need to work with him. And Obama comes out and says, oh, yeah, we're going to work together, but we're going to drive the bus. We're the ones that won. We're driving the bus. And Obama drove the bus right off the fucking cliff. Just like you look at all these Democrat cities. You can't afford rent in those cities. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's like with the black community. You keep voting for the same thing. I ain't telling you to vote for Republicans. I'm just saying make them earn your vote. Be willing to go independent. Let them know it. Because the one group of people you never have to do anything for is the people who always say yes. Someone that says no, you won't fight for. But someone that says maybe makes you work. These Democrats have been uncontested in these cities for decades. Washington State, 25, 30 years or more. They've had control over these cities. And what has happened to these cities? Look at the crime. Look at the drug use. Look at all the problems. Look at the situation is so bad that they started giving out crazy checks to people. You have someone living on the streets and they go to the government and say, oh, wagadoo, I can't handle it. They get like $1,000 a month. They can't afford rent. Lord knows rent's more than $1,000. But they can afford a lot of drugs and live in a tent. That's affected my people out here. I'm a van lifer. I know van bum. Despite the look of my beautiful vehicle here. No, I'll tell you what, man. You got these people that they couldn't afford rent in the city, so they get an RV, an old Cousin Eddie mobile, and then they go out and live like fucking heathens, out doing their drugs in the woods, in the wasteland, and they leave trash all over the place. Needles. And so the people that pushed them out into the wasteland and the woods, then the people out in the woods, this government they try to push them back in the city. And you ask, why is it that way? Because you can't afford to live in these Democrat cities. And these Democrats, they won't let you build a tiny home. By the way, whoever hit the like, thank you. They won't let you build a tiny home. You got an RV, they say you can't live in that RV. That is not a permanent living situation. Well, we can't afford a permanent living situation because for the last 30 years, You've made it impossible for people to build a house at an affordable price. Y'all don't hear me? You look at some of the places in California where the fires happened. Those fires happened, and how many of those houses have been rebuilt? We could have had a construction boom going on right now. Instead, things are stagnating, languishing. You got to do this, you got to do that. A house that was there since 1930 or 1960, solid as a rock until the fire came through. You can't build like that anymore. You can't do that. Our standards stay there. You can't even afford to build your own house back, assuming the insurance gave you the money. So the people who have some money can't afford to build in California, can't afford to build in Washington. They literally stand in their way. Let me turn on the subscribers only mode. And for those who wonder, why am I doing this? I only want to hear from those who have the time to subscribe. It just thins the herd and makes more room for the rest of you to comment. Y'all get it? Let's read that comment there. I hear you. I paid 19 children child support and wheat, bread, peanut butter. Yeah, man, you got to do whatever you can to survive. You know? The standard of living has gone so far down in these Democrat cities that people have now accepted the homeless, crazy people on the streets. The filth. And don't get me wrong, there's some things that Democrats, I think, have done a good job with, like recycling programs, trying to build up stuff like that. You know, there are some good things they have done, but when you can't afford an affordable situation, and there's crazy people committing crime all over the place, and the people that have been in charge there for 30 years, and they'll continue to be in charge. And you know why? Because they rig the fucking elections. They bring in illegals to replace you, just like with the black voters. They're replacing the black community with the immigrant community. They want guaranteed voters to flood the system. They want to make the illegal immigrants legal immigrants, but sorta. And think about how crazy this is. The same people who think you should have voter ID, should have ID on the internet is what I'm saying, are the same people telling you don't need a license to vote. They want to rig the election to guarantee they stay in power. But what have they done with their power? Look at San Francisco 1950s, 50s, early 60s. Now look at San Francisco today. Look at LA 1950s, 1960s. Look at it today. Seattle, Portland, Minneapolis, Houston. You go and think, well, Houston's a red state. Yeah, but the big cities are always blue. People can't afford to live there. The crime is horrible. And one person said earlier, on an earlier podcast, well, you know, the crime was worse in the 90s. There's some statistics on that. You had a lot of gangland violence. You still have gangland violence. Go look at Detroit. Straight up, look at Detroit. And tell me it's not a PvP server. Detroit used to be the Motor City. And what policies caused Detroit to lose everything? They forced unions on all the businesses. And then they made public sector unions that you can't default on the debt. They literally made unions and ran their city into the ground. And when people couldn't afford, when people had the option of a cheaper Japanese car or Korean car, a lot of people started going that way. And these auto factories started saying, well, we're going to move to Mexico or Canada or just out in the county so we save on taxes. Why did these companies have to pay so much taxes? Because of the Democrats' policies of unions. Why is the crime so bad? Because people haven't got jobs and they're on drugs. People are subsidized. All that welfare hasn't solved the damn problem. You know, people talk about the crime. Can you really believe the statistics coming out of these Democrat cities? Especially the ones that say, if you rob under $1,000, is it $900 or $1,000? If you rob under $900, You don't get, they don't convict you of anything. They just catch and release. What? If someone steals like a patch of Sour Patch Kids and a Pepsi, are they not stealing? Or do we just redefine crime? In fact, I need to have a separate conversation about that. See, they are massaging the crime statistics in these Democrat cities to try to tell you that this isn't happening. But once again, just like with what Adam Carolla said, I put it on my posts, my post sections on my page, that's short. They've ran these cities straight into the ground. Make no mistake, these people have had control for over 30 years. Sometimes 40 or 50 in some of these cities, like New York. I mean, actually, you go back to Giuliani, so yeah, that's, okay, maybe not, let's say 30 years. Coming to what seems like 30 years. Was it better then or now? Maybe the difference was back then, the poor could afford to rent a place. There was a job for you. And now it's just painfully obvious. The Democrats are more concerned about speech and kind words than they are about people starving on the streets. They're more concerned with a trans activist nonsense or somebody having a pride parade. Don't get me wrong, you're LGBT, go more power to you, have fun. But they're more concerned about that nonsense than whether your children are safe. They're more concerned about flooding your country, your small towns, your urban community with illegals than they are with protecting your job so you can earn a living to feed your family. How much more evidence do you need that the Democrats literally pretty much hate their voters? And if you think hate is a strong word for that, measure all the actions. I mean, hell, look at student loans. They pushed and pimped student loans your whole fucking life. And how many people are suffering under their student loan debt? They pimped college and told everybody's got to go to college. And something like 80 or 90% of women's degrees are crap. 65% of men's degrees are crap. Who sold you that dream? Who sold you that? Conservatives were always saying, hey man, college is good, but maybe trades, maybe truck driving, maybe something like accountant, something that has a job behind it. Democrats told you, hey man, just do what you love and the money will follow. Follow your dreams. Who gave you these shitty public schools? Teachers' unions. After how many decades of the teachers' unions are the public schools better or worse with that Democrat rule? So I'm just saying, Adam Carolla was spot on with it. San Francisco, a video of the 1950s, maybe early 60s, and then you look at it today. I posted that on my page, that little short he had. Because he ain't wrong. Because I've seen it in my own life. I remember how things were just a few decades ago. All right, Freedom Phil, like, subscribe, take it easy.